Yes, in recording. So that's what we're going to do here. Our subject of today is like how we're going to perform and perform better. And the thing is, what we're going to talk about this new information I get about the 5 performance pillars that really makes a difference on a day-to-day basis, right? So we're going to track this. I created an Excel sheet which I will share. I will even simplify it a little bit more because there's a lot of things on it that's not really helpful. But I'm going to share this Excel sheet later, hopefully today or tomorrow in the group, so that you can use it and model it to your own, that it works for you. But basically, the first pillar of performance is focus. So every time you're going to give yourself a figure from 1 to 10, how your focus was on that day, right? So that means, were you laser focused on one task and get it done, or were you just jumping around for all kinds of things that happened in the day? So that's the first pillar. Well, the second pillar is your emotional energy. So what does it mean? Is how did you feel? Did you feel like depressed, overwhelmed? Did you doubt, or were you really ecstatic from 1 to 10, right? So that's really an important figure also to track, which I will explain later why this is so important. Number 3 is now I have to think. I have to see that I explain this right. So number 3 is your physical health. And here comes, we come all of a sudden, we come in our space, right? Now we're here in our space and we are trainers and we know the importance of exercise and what it does to a person, but we never use it basically on ourselves. So the thing is, it's something we definitely need to track each and every day. So the third one is, I had this right, is the physical energy. So the physical energy is just to track how you feel. And were you tired or were you really awake? Were you high in energy? And I know these 3 first one, focus, emotional energy, and physical energy, but this one I never thought of tracking, and that is very important. It's about your social tribe. So how do you connect with your direct family members? How do you connect with your co-workers, people you meet on the street? How much time do you put in that day to actually connect with others? Just pure for the sake, not for the sake of selling or something, but just pure for you, to actually get the energy of others in. And the last one is very clear to us, is nutrition. So you have these 5 pillars here, right? And the thing is, what we do on a day-to-day basis, I keep it now simple. There are more things that you track, but for now, when I start with the 5 pillars, because these are made a huge difference in my world when I started. So the thing is that now, let me pull this here up. Yes, is at the end of the day, you're gonna keep a daily log, and I don't want you to keep a diary of 15 sentences and an epic Shakespeare piece, but just a few sentences. Life sucks, didn't get forward, had no energy, done.
I do that anyway.
You do that anyway?
Yeah, always.
Good.
3 things I'm grateful for, 3 things that went well, 3 things that I can improve upon.
Okay, now well, this it is a known concept, all right? 3 things that you work well and 3 things that you can improve upon. This goes even deeper, because this gonna track all these 5 pillars. So what will happen now? You're gonna notice in your daily logs, every 2 weeks you're gonna review how your past 2 weeks were. Well, in the Get Shit Done framework, you see that we work in 2-week sort of sprints to work towards a project. Well, that reflects to the 5 pillars. So after 2 weeks, you're gonna review how the two weeks were, and you're gonna look each and every day which days were great and which days were shit. And if you can color code them if you like, if you're really a nerd, I don't really care, but some people make it green and blue and whatever. You can make it as complex as you want. But the idea of it is that you exactly see what works and what doesn't. And what I noticed in mine, in my sheet when I was tracking this for the last 2.5 weeks now already, is that I had a lack of social tribe connection. And I noticed every time when my social tribe number was around a 5 and a 6, my days were on it. I was spot on. Even if I didn't eat well with the nutrition, or I feel a little bit tired, my end of day was really productive, because my connection with my people worked for me in a way. Maybe psychologically, I have no idea. But that was my trend, what I saw. So in the following process, what I did, I blocked in my agenda that I really made time for people. I never did this. Hey, I'm working here, right? I'm saying, go to business, fuck you all. I see you in 6 months. And now I started to connect with my parents, with my sister, with my friends who are living abroad. And I saw in my performance a peak. So that's why these 5 pillars have to be in sort of balance. So you are the center of the universe in these pillars, and then you're going to see that your productivity will go high, sky high. And the little things that I also notice is when I skip breakfast and don't feel well, my physical energy or my physical state was low, but also my mental energy was low. I didn't feel well. So my performance was less. I got less things done. And that insight alone completely changed it in the 3 weeks that 2-3 weeks that I work with it now, because you really, really, really know why things don't work. And then later on, we go back to the Facebook ad. So this is the tracking pure of the emotional pillars. But then we're going to track on a day-to-day basis what the tasks that we did, how did they play out, and how did they work. Do we need to continue that specific task, or do we need to discard it completely? And because we track it, we know. And in the past, we didn't track anything, right? So we had no idea. Shit, didn't work. So everything goes slow. Yeah. So what happens now in the course of 3 months in the Get Shit Done framework? What happens is that in those 3 months, you're gonna discard what don't work, and you're gonna keep doing what does work. And what you notice basically is that you're gonna strip a lot of shit away. You're gonna notice that a lot of things, writing a blog post, for example, doesn't really, it's cool, but doesn't really bring you the return on investment, you know? And maybe you do the podcast every week, but you see that you don't have much traffic from that podcast. That doesn't mean you're going to discard that podcast. No. Then you know for the next month, okay, I do my podcast, but people don't go to my website. What can we improve? And then you lose focus into that. So you're just going to block 3 days, and that's the only thing you're going to do. You're not going to do website and this. You're going to really focus, okay, why is my podcast not converting to this? And then each and every time you tweak, and most of the time is it the case that you cut things away. Maybe you do too much. Or, for example, at the end of your podcast, this is a real example from one of my, in the coaching community that I was a girl who did podcasts like you, and she had really, really high numbers, like you. You know, people are really listening. She had great guests. You have really, really high profile guests who share it. So that's not a problem. You know, you got the skill to get the people on board. But for some reason, the traffic wasn't working. So what her sprint was that she took 2 weeks to change that. For 2 weeks, she was only on it. What she has found in her niche is that, first of all, the length of the podcast made a very, very difference. She was over an hour, and then she brought it to like 30 minutes, and it converted better. Yeah. In her niche. That doesn't mean in your niche you need to be 30 minutes. We need to test.
Yeah, no, I'm on like 20 minutes, 20 to 30.
Yeah.
Max, I've asked that. Yeah, most people prefer that.
Yeah, but I have a guy this in the personal training space who does them in 10 minutes. Kills it. 10-minute podcast. So each and every person is how you are and how you bring how fast and how deep you are. But what was really interesting, that changed her conversion in 2 weeks' time, because what she did as a test, she was podcasting each and every day just to test how to make that better, the conversion. So what she did at the end, it was the end sentence, how she made the call to action to her audience to go to a website, and how she didn't create a scarcity in her end. So she said all the time, she ended, well, guy, like my podcast, and I see you next week, and if you love my stuff, go to my website. Shit, that didn't happen. After 2 weeks, she changed it. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Look, I have a special offer for a week right now. So what I want you to do now is to go to my website right now while you listen. I don't care if you like my podcast or on Stripe or what iTunes and all these things. I want you to go to my website now. So instead of subscribing to the podcast, she was inviting all her listeners, which were huge, just like yours, immediately to the website. Nothing else. She took everything else away. That worked for her.
So forget saying go to iTunes and subscribe.
Exactly. Because people will find your podcast probably anyway because you promote it. You're going to find it anyway. So you keep it for people so simple to decide that they say, okay, this is the end of the podcast. I have, for all guys who listened here, I have something special on, and then you make a link. And then you chuck something what you used in the podcast. Even if you make like a video version of you talking and you upload it there to re-listen, something stupid like that. And that really drove traffic for her. She increased over 200%, I believe. Only with these minor tweaks. And why? Because she was laser focused on that conversion of the podcast. And that's what I want to go towards now. So each and every time when we do something, even if this thing... that doesn't mean, because a lot of the mistake I made, for example, is that I took 1 day for one task. That's not the idea. It is that you are laser focused at a specific thing for a specific amount of time. So if you have more things, for example, you have podcast preparation and you have conversion checks with your podcast at the end, you're going to block 3 hours for that conversion, and then you only do that, take a break, and then you're going to go to get new people for your podcast for 3 hours and nothing else. And normally in a day, you see that we change from one thing to another. And a beautiful thing, and he calls this guy's brilliant, he calls this context switching. And what is based on studies of how the human brain works, right? So let's say you're working on editing your podcast and your Facebook status update goes. And then for a brief second, your head or your how do you call it? Your brain switches to this Facebook thing. So it needs to recalibrate and then get back to the original task. So you lose a lot of time to switch because your brain cannot handle. So the task takes 2 times longer. So if you shut everything down and are laser focused, and we've been talking about this, but never really actually doing it. And if you do it really with a timer, I do it in blocks of 25 minutes, this is gonna crush. It's gonna really crush and kill. So what I want to suggest for the course, because that's where we're at, right? You're stuck with this course thing. Because so
I've got the skeleton there, I've written the notes, I'm going to Menorca again, not next week after. I said for 3 days on my own, I'm just going to go, bang, this is getting, all the text is finished. Then
okay.
I need to get the Canva. It's going to be like you say, like a beta test.
Yeah,
Right?
just chuck it on the words without any edit. Boom, here it is. Because the idea is now, is that because we must be at 1,000 subscribers, 800, 600 subscribers now, the email list?
100 something, yeah.
Perfect. Let's go for it. So what we're going to do, we're going to send out a broadcast. So this is your focus. You're going to think about nothing else this coming period. The only thing you're going to do is beta test. If that takes 2 weeks to beta test, fine. So we're going to launch the fucker. Even if the videos are not perfect or the website is not perfect, chuck it all on Facebook and give them Facebook links. Doesn't matter. We're going to fix it later because we don't know if this is the thing that they want. So we're going to run it. So what we're going to do, if we run it, we can do 2 things. There are 2 philosophies about it, right? And I'll leave you the choice. One, you run it for free, give them results, and then use those results as testimonials, and then bang the course out later in a launch. That's number 1. Idea number 2 is ask a very low barrier fee to make some money out of it. Say for example, this is my course, I'm beta testing, I invite only 25 beta, of course you're going to invite more, but you're going to say something like 25 or 20 in that area, and you're going to really open and close the cart. So you're really going to have a start that you start promoting, and then we close down that they cannot enter anymore. But we're gonna, there's already a Facebook group that we created or not yet?
No.
Good, then there's immediately our chance now, for that specific beta test, we make a Facebook group. We can always change the name of the Facebook group. So that's our group where we're gonna push people in to market the actual course. So you do 2 things, you get the 2 things in one go, right? So Facebook, name it something, the mindset takeover, whatever. It doesn't matter what it's called. It's beta test. So we're going to go with a very tiny group, because this tiny group we want feedback of. Do you understand? Do you get better? Do you actually get the results from them? Is the course actually delivers what it promised? Does it bring you from A to B? It doesn't take them from A to Z, but from A to B. Just the first steps, and then later on we can upsell them.
Yeah.
So that's the concept for now. But what we want to do is do this fast. So we basically want to run this. I don't know how long do you need to go to the course, roughly? Is it big or small?
Probably like a couple of hours, man. It's
Perfect. Perfect.
It's like a mini course.
Yeah. That's what we want. So, like a mini thing. And then, from that mini thing, we're going to see, okay, you're going to go to it in a couple of hours. Maybe you should do this for free. Give it to them. Let them run through it. And then each and every time, every day, in the group, you're going to feedback from them. You're going to say, hey guys, what do you think? You go a live video. Hey, where can I help you? What do you miss? What is what we need to add? And you're going to hear a lot of things. Now, all these things, probably all the suggestions that they make, the beautiful thing of it, all the suggestions that they make in the group are your modules that you're going to write in stone. Because that's what they want. Yeah. So when we have this, let's see that we run this thing in 1 week. and they go through the couple of hours, and then we actually let them start all together at the same time, and let them end at the same time together, so you can keep it a little bit like classical, like, because that's purely for us to gather data. Later on, doesn't matter how they run through it.
Yeah, of course.
But for us now, we want the data as fast as possible, because then, based on the data, we're gonna create the modules that they ask for. Then we have more meat on this course, right? And it's bigger.
Yeah.
Then we're gonna create content for that again.
Yeah.
What we're gonna do then is we're gonna run it to a group of 200, paid for low fee. Again, we want to see, are we right? What we are, and other things that we need to add. So when you run the second beta group, then roughly we have our course, our first thing ready to go.
Okay.
And then, when we know that this works, then we're gonna build. And how are we gonna build?
Marketing and all of that.
Yes, we market it, we sell it, and we put our ass on the line. We sell it for the price that we want, and then each day we build the module. So you must build now. So you're gonna create this audience anticipation, and then you're gonna build along the way that they go through the course. So each time we are 2 modules ahead, and that's how we create. And then we create the beautiful templates, the beautiful Canva, and again, nothing is written in stone. We make it a little sort of more beautiful.
Yeah. That's why I need to get used to using Canva as well, and doing like fucking making these slides and all that. I've never done it, so.
Oh, you can do it yourself, or yeah, I think you should do it yourself, because it saves so much time if you can do it yourself. Because if you, it's very simple. I believe I made a Canva video. Let me see. I made a Canva video. How simple it is. Let me look it up. I made a Canva.
For making slides, yeah.
Yeah, you can make everything. Because it's very straightforward. You just open it up and then you drag a picture in, a text. It's like.
For the courses, like the actual like putting the content online, what do you use?
The actual content what I use is now Optimize Press.
Okay, some people said that, and some people said Thinkific as well. That's meant to be
It doesn't really matter what you use, what you feel comfortable with. What you need is just a platform that blocks it with a password and delivers it, for example, in beautiful tabs. Yeah.
Click on that, then.
Yeah, exactly.
Next module, yeah.
I love I love Optimize Press because it is easy to add the course material. But it doesn't really matter. I don't really have a preference for that. Choose one and go with it, you know. So as long as it's done. So, what is the deal here? The deal is that we need to get this beta, this tiny group of people, of 20 people, bang out this email list, bang it to them tonight. You don't need a landing page for it. You just say, hey, sign up here, and then you figure out later how you're going to get it. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Don't build something for it, or even if you deliver the course by email, I don't care.
But what are they signing up? What are they signing on to? If you know what I mean. How am I going to get the people that are on it? Am I just getting people to say yes, I'm in?
Yeah, yes, I'm in. And then what you could do, you could let me think. Deliver it via email now. Deliver via email. So you capture you put those people's names on a list, put them in ConvertKit, in a tag them as what do you call them? Beta testers, and then you're gonna make a broadcast, and you're only gonna send to that tag. Done. It's the easiest way.